And if the night is burning, I will cover my eyes for...
Hello, friends. I'm the Dyslexic Cosplayer, and it's time we pick up with our Look At Andromeda, Episode 2. Well, Tyr and the rest of his mercenary friends are quick to get down to work, literally headhunting the remaining androids on board the ship that have been helping Dylan and Andromeda, and forcing Dylan to retreat from the bridge, which means they're now in technical control of the ship. But without Harper successfully hotwiring the ship's computer, they're not actually going to be able to go anywhere. In a brief respite from Tyr staring at them, we get a wonderful interchange between Harper and Rev. Dude, come on, Rev, spill. What have you dug up so far?
What makes you think I've been trying to dig things up?
I know you, Rev. Where there's a will, there's a wayist, and you can't convert the heathens without knowing their names.
Wayists do not try and convert people. We merely show them that they're already wayists. He's Tyr Anasazi of Kodiak Pride. According to his companions, he's a high-priced mercenary. One of the best. Kodiak Pride was destroyed in a clan war. My guess is he's trying to prove his genetic worth so that he can join a new family. Another of the universe's little jokes. At our expense.
Rev, I can already see you're going to become one of my favorite characters when I'm doing these reviews. Well, Dylan heads to the armory and decides to get suited up, and has some snazzy body armor to boot, which he uses to help take out one of Tyr's companions, who turns out to be a cyborg, apparently. Either that or she failed to audition for Trinity from The Matrix, before Dylan hits her hard enough that she starts seeing user error 404, and he puts her into sleep mode in a cryopod. Remember that's important for later. Before stopping by their little armory, it makes it clear that no one else is allowed to play with the guns, by using some explosives to blow them up.
I don't think he wanted to hurt us. He went out of his way to control the explosion. He warned me it was coming. If he wanted me dead, I don't think I'd be here right now.
Why do I get the feeling we're on the wrong side?
Unfortunately, Tech starts to realize that the rest of the salvagers don't have an interest in claiming their stake in the prize as much as he does. Especially when Trance makes it clear that she doesn't feel that they're on the right side of things and wants to leave. So Tech decides to help her, by shooting her stone cold dead there and then. Buddy, first rule of negotiation, never shoot the mascot. Making it very clear that he's not leaving without the Andromeda, and orders Tyr and his companions to shoot them if they continue to show any signs of insubordination. I do like a little bit later seeing how they're all grieving, Rebecca blaming herself, Harper about ready to blow up Tex, and Tyr arguing for peace and patience, that getting themselves killed will not do any good. Something else I like is the fact that they're already laying the groundwork for Trance being a fairly mysterious character, stating that she didn't really tell them her real name or even what species she was all the time they lived together aboard the Eureka Maru. I just like the fact that they put that much effort in from the get-go, although when we get the payoff, it's kinda dumb. Meanwhile, Tyr and his companions discover the ship's basketball court, and I love how they just glued some lights on it to make it look sci-fi. But Dylan decides to confront them again, and this time he does not get as severely trounced by Tyr, making it clear that they are worthy opponents for each other. Even if that's only by using an explosive to blow up the remainder of Tyr's and his companions' weapons. Like I said, my court, my rules. Okay, seriously, I'm starting to think that Dylan is growing up to be Batman, just saying. But not doing badly, putting the second one of Tyr's companions to sleep in a cryopod. Not too shabby, even managing to retrieve the body of Trance in the hope that Andromeda could do something, but she confirms that yes, she is totally dead. Meanwhile, Tex is starting to realize that his muscle is running out just as the crew's patience is running out with him, and it's not looking so good for this particular salvage plan. However, we find out that Harper has a cybernetic augment that allows him to directly interface with computers' mainframes, so he decides to go for a jaunt around inside Andromeda. Oh boy, was that a bad idea.
Maybe I can help?
What? Oh.
Welcome to my mind. Now go home.
Whoa, this is totally bogus! And the moral of the story, kids, do not plug your brain directly into a computer! So the new plan is to blow up the ship's main computer, because that's a brilliant plan. However, Dylan decides to put the kibosh on that pretty quickly. And then there was only one. And things are only getting worse, since now the Andromeda is trying to hack into the Eureka Maru and take control of their computer. Gerentex, realizing the writing is very clearly on the wall, decides to abandon the rest of the crew aboard the Andromeda. And just for spite, causes it to slowly drift back into the event horizon of the black hole, so they will be crushed to the point of the singularity. Which is not great, since the engines are still not working, so there's really no way for them to stop that from happening. Unfortunately, Tyr's best plan is to try and put himself in a cryopod so that hopefully he can somehow survive this or pass through the black hole into the new parallel universe that lies beyond it. I think, bro, you really should not be getting your science from Disney's The Black Hole. And I really should do a review of that at some point. Fortunately, by this point, Dylan managed to roll high enough on his engineering check to get the ship back up and running. Unfortunately, they're now far enough inside the black hole that they can't escape, as demonstrated by the two mercenaries who attempted to leave in the escape pod being sucked into it. Yeah, the screams of them dying is kind of horrible to listen to. But Dylan has had it up to here with people he tried to save from death dying, so it makes it very clear to the remainder. They're not going to survive by hiding inside of the cryopods, but if they work with him, there is a slim chance they may be able to come out alive by the end of this day. His case only being strengthened by the no longer dead Trance now trying to help him.
But just so happens that your friend here is only mostly dead. There's a big difference between mostly dead and all dead.
Yeah, I couldn't help it. But yeah, Trance is somehow no longer dead, even though everything says she should have been dead. But with her help, the crew are convinced to help out Dylan. And what is his plan? Oh, it's a doozy. As they continue to be sucked inside the black hole, Dylan decides to promote all of them to various ranks on board the ship, which will allow him to then access the ship's fully stocked supply of Nova Bombs, explosives capable of blowing up whole suns, and decides to dump the whole stockpile of 40 of them directly into the black hole. Oh, this is going to be interesting. And thanks to them all exploding all at once, they create a white hole.
A white hole? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. A black hole sucks matter and time out of the universe, and a white hole restores it.
I swear this is not intentional. I just got lucky and managed to use 2 Red Dwarf clips in the first 2 episodes of this series. But yeah, fortunately they're able to outrun the blast wave of all of that time and matter returning back into the universe. Fortunately, thanks to a little clever scheme that Harper managed to dream up, they're able to trap down the Eureka Maru and make it very clear to Gerentex they don't appreciate him trying to kill them by leaving them aboard the Andromeda and have it sink into a black hole. But thanks to Dylan's intervention, they decide not to kill him and just shove him into an escape pod. And so Gerentex is taken care of, and we will never see him in this series ever again. So that's all tied up, but there's one lingering plot thread, that skin condition Harper has.
Apply this 3 times a day for a week and you'll recover.
So, just out of curiosity, what would have happened if you hadn't treated this? Would it have left a scar?
No. It would have eaten every inch of your skin until it was gone, and then would have started on your organs, muscles, eyes, and brain. You would have lived about 5 more weeks, and then all that were left were bleached bones.
3 times a day for a week.
Don't miss any spots.
I mean, what more can you say to that other than perfect comedic timing? Later, Dylan gathers the crew of the Eureka Maru and Tiranasazi in the ball court, and decides to make them an offer. They could go off on their own and continue doing what they've been doing, or if they stuck around and became his ship's crew, they could help re-establish the Commonwealth. Something that sounds completely crazy to someone who's lived for over 200 years without a Commonwealth, but for Dylan it was only just yesterday. So that is his new goal, is to re-establish the Commonwealth and drive back the chaos that has become the galaxy. For various reasons, they all decide to agree to this plan, even Tyr. And thus we get our TV series, and we're off! So what makes Andromeda a compelling series? Well, the sci-fi parts of it are really good, well-grounded, and it establishes a cohesive universe. As well as the premise is just great. A man out of his time, forced to try and make his way in a new universe that he barely understands, all the while still remembering what the past had to offer. It's a great premise. Now, something I found kind of interesting, apparently part of why Kevin Sorbo was willing to work on the project was he was in the midst of doing Hercules: The Legendary Journeys, but, at least according to him, the show had lost a lot of its luster, the best writers being taken over to work on Xena the Warrior Princess, and also feeling like his character was being maligned and ignored. So, when he was offered the leading role on this show, of course he would jump at the opportunity to be a badass space captain. Also, Rev Bem is just kind of awesome. He manages to be one of those religious characters that doesn't constantly shove it in your face so badly you want to strangle him, but still does a pretty good job of teaching you about his religion by the end of the series. There are also a few moments later in this series that do a really good job of fleshing out just how truly alien this creature really is. Tyr, for all that he's a somewhat enigmatic character at first, and would seem to be just the muscle there to hit people, actually gets a good bit of character development as the series goes on, even a few episodes centered around him that are some of the most memorable of the series. It's only a shame what happens to his character by the end, but that's why we don't talk about the future. Rebecca Valentine is very clearly in the same mold as Ripley from the Alien movies. Strong and a commanding presence, but still able to have feminine qualities without that being her whole defining feature is, oh look, I'm the woman. And I really feel like she comes into her own by the third episode, so I won't talk about her too much here. Trance is an interesting character, but other than the ever-present mystery of what her deal is, and how apparently she's able to come back from the dead, she doesn't really do much, at least for a while. So I'll hold off on talking about her too much until we get a really good episode to deep dive in on the character. Harper is interesting. For all that he's supposed to be the comedic character, he's also surprisingly competent as a technical engineer, and as we see, actually a very good roboticist. Occasionally those efforts can stray into the problematic valley, but I think some of that was just the writers trying to figure out how to write the character, so he does get better eventually. And then there's the Andromeda. Unlike much of media that tries to handle artificial intelligences as making them like people but with major gaps, she's really a fully actualized character, which makes some of her struggles with being both a warship and a person an interesting layer for them to touch on throughout the series. So yeah, that's my review for the first 2 episodes of Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda. Yeah, it's pretty good. We'll see where it goes from here. What can you expect from our next episode? Well, we find out what happens to Peter Pan's Lost Boys if they're stuck on a space station for too long. We get to meet somebody who's worse at reading than I am for a change. And we get to see just how truly psychotic teenagers are capable of being. I hope you'll join me for episode 3 of Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda. Until next time, sign-offs are hard. Hello, people of Earth. My name is Captain Dylan Hunt of the High Guard ship Andromeda. I've been frozen for 2,000 years, and I have to learn everything there is to learn about this current day and age in which I live. But fortunately, I have these wonderful reviews to help make that a lot easier. If you like the work that this dyslexic cosplayer is doing, feel free to like, share, and subscribe to his channel. Also check out some of the other series that he's working on, as well as the original content that he's been creating, here and over on his Patreon page. Links to which can be found in the description below, whatever that means. And now some special thanks from my patrons on Patreon. Drawn by Kenna, Jen Goodnight, Lucy Westera, Norm DePlume. Thank you all so much for your contributions and for making all of this possible.